Hey, it's Nicole. Welcome back to the show. So excited to have you today and our newest guest, Ari Tulla with Elo Health. Have you ever wanted some personalized nutrition support, something that blends maybe an app, maybe some technology to make sure you're eating better and you are actually getting the nutrition your body deserves? Stay tuned so you can hear it directly from Ari himself.
Hey, if you're an entrepreneur who usually fast forwards intros just like this one, this is the podcast for you.
Hey, just a reminder, our show is brought to you by SmartCookie Media, where we believe data tells a story, and not just any story, your business story. As a subscriber to the show or as a client, you'll get insights on profitable, data-driven marketing strategies that work for you and your business, your industry, not some cookie cutter trends. No, ideas that are led by your customer data so you know they'll work for you. Connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram to learn more. Everything's in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the show. Ari, welcome to the show. So glad to have you.
Hey, thank you so much. Great to be here.
We like to start the show the exact same way. How would you finish this sentence? You know you're an entrepreneur when?
I walked into my apartment when I was 19, and there were two guys there. And one of them, he decided to start a business, a Web 1.0 startup building websites for big companies. This was 1998. And he asked me, you want to be part of this? I had been toying with, web and the tech a long time before that in high school. And I was like, of course. And I became the first employee, not the co-founder in a sense, but, the first person on the day they started it. So that was, when I kind of felt that maybe there's something here.
Yeah. Is there a story there? What made you feel that strongly to go after it then? Is there something maybe from your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a builder all my life. I got Legos when I was a kid, and then my dad, he bought me a computer when I was maybe 6 years old. This was the, 086 computer with no graphics, like two colors and stuff like that, like early 80s. And then, of course, you couldn't do much with them. You could do two things. You can kind of write and, maybe use Excel or whatever Lotus at the time, and then code. And then later, you can also play games. But this is like the big floppy disk type of stuff, like really pretty old school. And anyway, I started to, play with games and stuff, and I got connected to the internet very early in, 94, 93 maybe. So I enrolled from high school to university just to, have access to faster internet. And I was, doing a lot of stuff that people did in the beginning. Like you had the IRC, the first kind of like messaging platform. You had these DBSs that were like, file sharing place very early where most stuff was illegal. And then I realized that there are these first online games that they were called MUD, multi-use dungeons. And these are games where, 10,000 people played one game, and it was basically ANSI graphics, so no images but text-based. I became the top 2 player in the world in 2 of the games. I was maybe the first person in the world who made money by selling virtual armor and swords and stuff when I was in high school. I was pretty committed. I spent 400 days of unidle playing time in high school in 3 years. So I spent over a year and a half playing those games nonstop. So that gave me kind of this confidence in a way that, I was able to play with people who were a bit older than me, usually in a college and around the world. And it was super cool because one of the guys I played with the most, he is now the CTO at Goldman Sachs, for example. So sometimes, playing video games can be a positive thing. And that was, I think, for me, the realization that, anything is possible. It's not about age. It's about, can you do things with the new tech in the right time?
Well, yeah, there's also something there that showed your commitment. I mean, I don't know about you, Nicole, but when's the last time you did something 400 days straight? I mean, I know I would be skinnier. I know that. I would be skinnier because I'd be committed to my workout. I'd be doing it 400 days straight.
I do feel like my 6-year-old has put you up to this call. I wonder how we got in touch. I feel like my guy, Luke, may have been like, see, Mom, I should play some video games. This is what I should be doing. Okay, so, all right, tell us the business that you own and those that you help.
Today, I'm running a company called Elo Health. What we do is personalized nutrition. So we are trying to turn food into medicine. And we know that's a big, big problem. 75% of people are overweight today. Half of the nation is obese. And 60% of people have chronic conditions like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and so forth. We have to do something. So this is kind of my hope that, we can build a company that can help make this world a bit better place by turning food into medicine. We started with this idea that good nutrition be smart, good food be smart. What is smart today? Think about your Tesla. It's pretty smart. You walk in there, it moves the seat, the right music plays in. It even drives differently depending who you are. This is pretty smart, Apple Watch or your phone. or your home even now. It knows when you're not home, it will lower the temperature, save you money automatically. That's pretty smart. So in nutrition, what we think it could be, it is something that's personalized to you, made just for you. Every product we do at Elo is made for you after you order it. So it's all fresh and it's personalized to you out of millions of combinations. It's also precise. It's grounded in the real science. We started with supplements like powders, pills, and gummies. 120 million people today eat supplements every day, use supplement pills. How many people know what they are taking? Do you know that you are taking the right ones? Do you know that you are taking the pure ones? Do you know that you are getting the benefit? No. Nobody knows. 99% of people have no idea. They usually take something that they heard in a podcast. We have a podcast right now. I can tell you how to make it better. And then the last thing of the three. So personalized, precise, and proactive. So think about what if the nutrition of food could be proactive in a way, it gets better over time. It gets more feedback loops, like, it could be sleep, recovery, it could be your blood biomarkers, it could be your feedback. I don't like this. I want to have something different. So that's what we're trying to build. And I hope that, there will be a world where smart nutrition as an idea will be something that people can use and could become a real thing. After my, startup days in the early company with my roommates, I got into Nokia, and I got to Nokia, the Finnish cell phone company, when they were building the first smartphone, N95. So I got to the team that was building the first smartphone ever in the world. And, it's unbelievable to walk in the room, and basically that room changed the world because, that came out, years before iPhone and Android, first device that you can actually do email, you can take photos, video, you can browse the web, not very greatly, but, still, and some games also. And that was called mobile computer. And I recall, there was a room when we were talking about this stuff, and I wasn't making a decision. I was just building stuff. But there was a smartphone on the wall as a word. And then, the leadership picked the mobile computer. And we're being kind of great to pick the smartphone because now it changed the world more than almost any device in the history. So I don't want to make the same mistake twice. I really want to call this now smart nutrition. We have smart gummies. We have smart protein. We have, even smart biomarker testing that knows what need to be tested. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of that. So you said, how do we know if this is the right supplements? When I was a kid, my mom went to a doctor of nutrition that actually formulated her own. So she knew what was in those. But even though that woman lived, I'm pretty sure, to 100, she looked like she was glowing even at 97 years old. She looked fantastic. That all went with her. Her family didn't decide to continue that on, didn't learn that craft, and that all went with her. So now, knowing that experience, the only hope that I have is to see how I feel in 30 days of using something that I'm using. And then sometimes I find that even a formula may work for me for a few months, but then I almost need to on purpose change it to a different brand because of that. So can we first talk about how this is personalized?
Yes, at the beginning, I never had taken supplements in my life. I was at Nokia on those first devices that, we realized that the phone had a sensor in them, an accelerometer, the first ever in any device. And what it did, it turned the photos from landscape to portrait. It's annoying if you take a photo like this and then you turn it around. It knew it. So that sensor was the same sensor that was later added into Nintendo Wii, the Wii things that evolved.
Totally.
So very powerful thing. So the teams we work with, they hacked, the sensor at Internet Nokia, and we made the first step counter out of it. So we've built the first step counter, put it in the phones, and we had like 30 million people using it because we bundled that with the phones. So this team invented the 10,000 steps, and it changed the world. I mean, now we have billion people today who are step counting. So this is like 17, 18 years ago. So that made me a believer when I saw people changing behavior. People in Calcutta slums, they started to walk more because of the step count. It was like unbelievable. And now, of course, we are getting so much more data from our bodies. I have an Apple Watch, I have a, Whoop, I have an Oura Ring, I have a glucose monitor on. So I get a ton of data real time from my body. And of course, not everybody's like me. I'm kind of going far out there. But half the population now has some type of a tracker. And we are doing much more tracking also in healthcare by taking, blood work and, taking different sensors like your scale. It could be blood pressure and so forth. The point is we have 100 times more data now than we have ever had about us. And we don't use it in the healthcare at all. So our thesis was that can we use that data and then use AI to build the right products for you? And can we make the products made to order, that every product you get is unique to you based on your needs and goals? So the beginning, what we did, we built Elo blood test, kit where you can order it to your home, you prick your finger, we need 4 or 5 drops of blood, you send it to our lab, we test 15 biomarkers. And those are basically, your lipid panel, A1C for diabetes. You have your vitamins like B and D, you have iron, you have inflammation. So pretty good view. Same what you get if you go to a concierge doctor. And we took the data, pretty extensive health questionnaire. And then also, if you want, we took your wearable data, like your sleep data, your recovery, your activity. So we know an awful lot about you. And then we use AI to plant your information into clinical studies that have been done to humans. We have about 6,000 studies today. That is the backbone for the Elo AI. All the studies ever done in the world for nutrition products. We're going to plot you in these studies that were done to people. Let's say you have a high LDL. What can be done to high LDL? A, B, and C. So we then formulate you the right product with the right dosing of those things. And we notify you every day to take them the right time at the right dose. And then we test you again at the 90-day or 180-day mark, and we see if it works. And we did that for thousands of people in the beginning with the supplement pills. So 90% of people walk in, they had something on yellow and red. And then after 6 months, roughly, most people had fixed many of those things. And not only because of the pills, but we also paired them with the dietitian on an app. So you can meet with the dietitian, you can talk with them, and they guide you to change behavior, also eating and, maybe walking and whatever you do. In the last year, we've been kind of building that because that's not scalable. I mean, we can't have thousands of dietitians working with people. That's not the business idea. So now we are turning that into AI. And, sometime in the future, we are launching now a completely new app where you have actually the ability to talk to an AI who is basically a dietitian in a box, who can see all your data in real time. So it's even better because there's no latency. You have a question, you can snap a photo of a food, you can go there and get all that insight. That's what we are building towards. When you give people the right supplements, it's very interesting because we talk to everybody and ask them, what are you taking today? And we realize that most people take wrong things that you should not take. Half the population is medicated today. And often they take supplements that are interfering with the medication.
Is there an example? What's something that people are taking that people don't realize that are interfering?
Like there's some nutrients that may inhibit the medication working for your body. You might have some cancer drugs, for example, that, you could inhibit taking too much of certain supplements. So that can be very severe. Vitamin D is the most common problem people have. When we look at our population and the testing, we see that over half the people walk in with low vitamin D. Vitamin B12 is a very common one because if you are, more vegetarian, you tend to have it low. Iron is a very common one for women. And when we look at, the intake questionnaires, most women are taking too little protein. If you are a woman in your 40s, 50s, you likely will have too little protein. And that will lead into, maybe muscle loss in the brittle bones. And then when you fall at 70, you're going to break your hip and you can't recover. So those are really, I think, the key piece that we learn. But your point about the time between is a good one because often people like to take like more herbal supplements. Like think about like green tea extract, very good example. You shouldn't take them every day of the year. You should have a break between. So what we ordinarily do at Elo, we give you 3 months and then we take a break and then we give it again. And, if you live in a northern hemisphere, like, northern US, for example, we're going to give you vitamin D more automatically when it gets dark. That's all automatically done in Elo. So that's just one example how it works for you. Smart, as I said.
So smart. So smart.
You touched on something about how sometimes some of what our nutritional supplement and what we put into our bodies could counteract or react, for that matter, to other medications we might be taking. What's the medical team? What's your medical director? What is some of the more science based around some of those other factors that you just discussed? That way people have a better understanding that it's not just AI guiding you on these decisions.
Yeah, 100%. So we have a science team in Elo. We also have a medical advisory team who are pretty notable scientists in the field. Our science leader is a person who first things he got into science was when he did a PhD in Europe, in Scotland. And the first gigs he was in, they won a Nobel Prize. She invented with the team the mad cow disease. They isolated that disease, and that was the Nobel Prize that they got from that. So this is pretty notable scientist in her own and spent over a decade studying neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's and dementia, and the nutrition impact on that. And she just wanted to kind of get out of academia, went to be a venture capitalist for a while, and then came to Elo. It's great to have somebody like that who is like locked up in the academic world overall, and was at the UCSF for a long time, almost a decade as a researcher, which is predominantly the best place in the world for neurodegenerative diseases. AI is really a tool that we use. So we have spent over 3 years and multiple people basically indexing everything, tagging everything properly, and even like normalizing things from like, studies in some other countries might have different measurements, like, millimole or milligrams or whatever you have. So that work had to be done by hand, and it's very tedious work, thousands of studies. Like, talk about 100,000 pages of research somebody read. And now it's built. And now what AI can do super well, it can connect the data. Think about like myself. I have all these wearables. All the data is flowing to Elo. We use Apple Health as a gateway. My other co-founder, he was at Apple for a decade. He built these headphones. He built the MacBook Pro. And then he was kind of people starting the Apple Health overall. So he's one of the 9 people designing everything Apple products. So pretty cool to have him in the team.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh
he
my gosh.
basically, helped us to kind of connect us into Apple. And Apple Health today is unbelievable gateway that you can connect your health record into Apple Health. You can connect your lab data from Quest Labs and LabCorp into Apple Health. And if you want, then you can open it to companies like Elo. We are one of the first companies ever to use that gateway. So it's not always only the Elo data, but it can be, data that you have done in the last 10 years. So I have information from every heartbeat, every blood test, every doctor visit in the last decade in the Elo. And that's what the AI can look at now. And it is unbelievably powerful because it knows all the context about me. And I can ask, what should I eat today? It roughly knows what I eat, and it can tell me a meal plan for the day and tomorrow and next week. So it is really, really powerful. That's something that will come, I hope this year out from Elo. Once we get it, HIPAA compliant, we have to do a lot of, red tape because we do blood testing, for example. We have to be FDA compliant there. We do nutrients, and we try to really be the best in the world what we do. So like the smart gummies, they are made in Europe. They are fully aligned with EU regulation. And EU regulation for supplements is way different than the US. We have no regulation here. And EU is like
much
medication.
tighter.
Yeah.
It is
Much
way
better,
tighter.
actually. Yeah.
Yes,
It's way better.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that opens up another question, Ari. Nicole will probably give you the precursor that this is where Matt's lawyer brain goes. At one point in time, back in 2018, I did a saliva test with another nutritional supplement company that was allegedly formulating nutritional supplements that were allegedly to my biometric. And one of the concerns I had that I didn't really get clarity on is the HIPAA protection regarding the data that I'm giving to this organization. In other words, like, are you going to sell this information to an insurance carrier? Are you going to sell this to advertisers? Is it going to be the ability long-term to take the data you are receiving from my everyday activities, my health? And I'm not trying to become big brother here, with this comment, but I do believe that is a valid concern that I don't know if everybody wants their health information potentially being utilized beyond helping me become a better, healthier human being. Is that fair, Ari?
100%. And just for context, the last 2 companies I built, one was called Better Doctor, and we became the backbone for doctor data for the whole nation. So today, 200 million people use our data when they look for doctors. And then I was running a company called Quest Analytics. That is a company that every doctor network in the country has been designed with. So we work with every health insurance company, every hospital, every government agency, every state. So we power every state in the country. We power CMS and everybody else. So I've spent decades in big healthcare, working with the policymakers. I was involved in writing the legislation for the telemedicine rules that came in force in COVID, that you actually could go from one state to another state with telemedicine. And that changed everything. We wrote this maybe 5 years before and nobody cared about it. But then suddenly, there's a good paper we can use to save the world. So that's my world I come from. I have another co-founder who's the same guy who I built the last 4 companies with. So he is the CTO, and he built the same system we built for our health government agencies, CMS and others. So you have to be absolutely critically, making right. And the data you give us, it's your data. And we also now apply to the Apple requirements that are absolutely strict. So you want to get your data deleted from Elo, you can do it on the app, you can do it on the website. And the data will be deleted not only on the Elo system, it will be deleted from Elo databases and all our partner databases as well. We built that system, and I bet there are not many companies who actually have that. So that requirement came into force mid last year, and I'm sure most companies haven't yet implemented. We did it in the beginning. So we're not going to sell any data ever to anyone else. Only way, we use data that you could say that there's a kind of persistency is when we do AI models. We learn from the AI model, and it's almost impossible to go later and remove your learning. I mean, that's an area that nobody really knows what to do about. But that's the only way when some trace of your information could be persistent and staying. Otherwise, we can delete everything we have about you, and we're never going to know that you were a customer before.
In that case, then, Nicole, no further objections. I will rest my case. You just shut it.
Could you share with me a story from the products, how they're helping others?
I always be happy to share my story because, I own the stories and I have a consent from the people in the story. I do this and I'm in healthcare because we had a health issue in my family 22 years ago. So my wife, suddenly touched her neck and there was like a fist-sized tumor on her neck, on thyroid. And that was taken out. And it was success from the perspective of, healthcare system. Young woman, healthy woman comes in, she has a tumor, we take it out, good to go. But she was medicated with medications and she got a lot of hormonal imbalances, autoimmune issues, and the medication made it impossible to get pregnant. She was healed, but no family, and that sucked. So we spent a decade to try to find a solution. We worked with doctors in Europe and then in the US and went very deep, spent, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. We realized that in the end, food became the medicine. So we found a doctor who was working with patients with autoimmune diseases, and she designed a diet for us that we deployed, like no wheat, no meat, no sugar of any type. Very kind of interesting diet. And that same diet is now used for like ALS and Lyme disease and others, and it works. There are people who are converted from being ALS to healed with same type of diet. So it was unbelievable that her body was able to heal itself. And then finally we were able to get pregnant, we had to go IVF. And there's another incident that our first son died. So it's like you have this battle for a decade, and then you finally get pregnant with all this money in IVF, and then you lose the son, and that sucked. And that was a moment when I decided that I'm going to spend the next 30 years of my life in healthcare. And we investing in healthcare as a family office. We are in 50 companies as investors. I've built now 3 companies, and we help hundreds of million people find a doctor already. So it's kind of cool because we had a problem finding our own good doctor. So that's my story. And I've been the healthy one. So I never took any supplements. But when we went with my team and my science leader kind of put me in the test bench, like, let's test this guy. And I'm happy, like, let's do it. And they take my full sequencing of my DNA, my blood work, and my performance overall. They find out that I have 2 mutations in my DNA that I don't metabolize vitamin D properly. So my vitamin D level was like 15. And I live in California. And I used to live in Finland. Like my vitamin D level was 0. It took 6 months to fix it. And I was like horse dosed vitamin D. I mean, like way more than you would normally take. And I was like, wow, I feel different. And then they realized that I'm an iron depositor. So what it means is that if I have iron supplements, I might die of iron poisoning. Who knew? So I took this information, went to Finland, and I tested my extended family, everybody. I fully sequenced them. I put them through like ringer with the blood test. And we realized that everybody had the same vitamin D issue, the whole family. My mom had the same iron issue. She has given blood 100 times because her values are always too high. And I'm doing the same now. I'm donating my blood every now and then. But the point was that, we fixed everybody's vitamin D with the Elo products before COVID, and nobody died of COVID. And we have some pretty old people in the families. So I feel confident now that these micronutrient optimization we do with supplements can have an impact on people's health. But it's not going to be the pill or the gummy that will kind of solve your problems. You have to change your diet. You have to eat right. You have to sleep right. You have to be active and be outdoor. Those are must-dos. But for people who want to optimize, we are getting hell good at it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Do you find that there's any tension between a traditional Western medicine type of philosophy versus what you guys are doing with these micronutritional adjustments, essentially attacking illness, we'll say, from a different perspective?
Yeah, you make a great point. And, I'm very used to working with doctors. Some of them hate me because I built transparency into the system. But yeah, there's clearly like a dysfunction here because doctors are getting about 2 or 3 hours of lectures about nutrition in the medical school. Think about it, like it's unbelievable. Like it doesn't make any sense. Nutrition is a key part of this. So they are not confident of talking about it or even doing anything about it. So what we want to do is to take these products we have now built into healthcare, like these gummies that we just got out. I mean, 7-layer gummy with 7 pills in one gummy, 3D printed view. I mean, it's unbelievable. You can change the flavor. It's tasty. So I can't talk about names yet. We are launching next week, I hope. We're working with the biggest fertility clinic system in the world who makes thousands and thousands of babies every year. And they will be bundling these products now into IVF pregnancy. We do pre-pregnancy, we do like PCOS help support. We also do like, prenatal stuff. Then we do first, second, third trimester. Then we do lactation. Then we do post-recovery. So we built this doctor-formulated product with our platform. Next, we're going to go into the GLP-1 drugs. So the weight loss drugs are now a huge thing. We're going to make a protein powder that's doctor formulated for the GLP-1. We're going to get that out in the market in a few weeks. So those are big things for us because they are really making food into medicine that is actually kind of prescribed by a doctor. And that to me is super cool.
Yeah.
We have 389 million possible combinations.
That's 389
I mean, it's pretty
million.
unbelievable. Yeah.
I'm going to be ordering
So,
for sure.
It's pretty unique.
Yeah.
And it's vegan. It's as organic as you can make a supplement to be. You don't have to do a blood test, by the way. You can just go in and do assessment. We took the blood test data and we learned from it. And now we have an AI model that can predict what you need. It's like 80%, 90% accurate. We're not going to know your vitamin D value, but we know you're likely low. And then if you want later, you can do the test. But the idea is that you can drop a few drops of blood into a card. You can send it to our lab. And then 10 days later, you will receive 3D printed gummy supplements that are made for you with a big name on the back.
That's your name.
Got your name on the bag. Love it. Love it.
Oh my goodness. It's pretty amazing. It's so amazing. Yeah,
really cool.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, that's one of the differentiating factors. I mentioned previously in the show, I tried something similar, but it was saliva based. And my wife, who's in medicine, flat out said to me, she goes, well, blood would be way more accurate than saliva.
Yeah, they were doing DNA testing. And DNA, like I said, has important insight. Like you can learn that you might have a mutation, but you don't know if you have it because it doesn't tell you that you necessarily have it. You have trait on something. So you're going to have to do a blood test and longitudinal blood testing to understand if you really have those. So that's why my team, they used my blood data together with my sequencing data from my DNA. And of course, now what's happening, we're talking about methylation. We're talking about the epigenetics. So the DNA is the genetic code. Epigenetic is kind of the code that defines what is going to be manifested in you. And what is impacting the epigenetics is your lifestyle, your upbringing in a way. Like, are you getting a lot of pollution? Are you eating healthy? Are you having adversary in life? You know, the good adversary, like exercising or sauna, the heat treatment or cold plunging and stuff like that. So that is now what we are testing. We don't do it at Elo publicly yet because, you know, it's like $450 a pop, expensive. But I think it will go down to $100 in a few years. And then we are really getting into business because then we can turn on the right things.
Yeah. My AI would just tell me in the app, just step away from the desk more often. That's what it would say to me. Step away from the desk. I don't even need to train AI. I just know that's what it would say.
Yeah.
Ari, tell me, are there Olympians, sports athletes, professionals that are working with you? I would have guessed yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for, you know, certain things. Like I'm a rock climber. I've been climbing for almost 30 years and I still compete at the right age. And it's been super fun to, you know, work with some of the best people there. We work with Tommy Caldwell. He's kind of the GOAT of rock climbing ever. So he's helping us to kind of build the right product for that audience. Somebody that we've really been lucky of working with is Dana Liz, who is the nutrition leader for Cognitive Sport Warriors. So working with Stephen Curry and others to build their nutrition. And, you know, they're pretty old. They're performing pretty well. And her special focus is today in women's health and women athletes. So she's helping and working with a couple of, you know, the professional cycling teams in Europe, women's cycling teams, the first teams who are going now to the France and helping, you know, them optimize. And women are different than men. We don't really focus often women in the same way. We also have Dean Karnazes is a really interesting one for the endurance. So he's the original endurance runner, ultra runner. He was the person who ran 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days. He has run 350 miles. He had a world record for some time. And he's helping us. He's 60 years old. So he's helping us, like, how do we get, you know, the right stuff for the older people? And he's super savvy about this. He's been working a lot of these things for over 2 decades. And there's some people in NFL, NBA, and others who also are involved. But it's been really fun because these people look at us and say that what you are giving to me is same I get from my team of having dietitian only for me. Like we spend hundreds of thousands a year. And now we can give it to people at $59 a month. And that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't even consider what the price point was. I just figured it was astronomical, but I was.
Is it a subscription model then? Like I go take my test, I'm signing up, I pay so much for the test up front, and then I'm on a subscription at $59 a month thereafter. Is that how it would work? Just so I understand.
Yeah, so we now do it in a way that you don't need to do the test in the beginning. So the subscription for the gummies is $59 a month. For the protein, it is $49 a month. And then if you want to buy the test, you can get the new test with $149, and you can do it whenever you want. And the testing will probably be much more robust in the coming year. I hope we can get like maybe 20 or 30 different tests there, like different test patterns.
Right.
So you can test almost anything you want. Our labs today, they can do 75 different tests. So it's almost everything you can think of.
Wow. Wow.
Can I ask you, how do I know if I should be doing the protein powder and what protein powder versus the gummies? Is that something that comes from the test?
Great points. If you take supplements today, I think the gummies are almost a no-brainer. So most people tell us that, hey, you should put like a price calculator onto the site because we ask you in the assessment what supplements you take today or what supplements you like to add in the gummy. And many people, they say vitamin D, multivitamin, few other things, they are saving money because if you buy 3 bottles already a month, then you are spending more money on those than you could spend a gummy. And then you get 5 other things on top of that. A protein today has mainly been for activity. So what we do uniquely on the protein is that if you are like me and you have a wearable device or use Apple, device to track something, we can use the data from your tracking to build the right protein blend. So my blend will automatically modify every month based on what I've done. I was traveling in the winter quite a bit and, I do less cycling because it's pretty rainy now here in the Bay Area. But when it gets back to my cycling season, I do like 10 hours a week. We have an app. So we connect the Elo into your phone and into your watch. So if I look at my watch now here, I can see a notification right now, take my supplements at 9 in the morning. And then when I do a workout and I track it, it will tell me automatically after workout that I need to take 1 or 1.5 scoops of protein. And it also tells me I don't take protein because you don't need it now. So you can do the protein like a morning protein or then exercise protein. You can do both. We even did a smart dosing. So you basically are marking if you have taken the protein, we know that. If you follow that, you can turn on smart ordering. So we send you back when you run out.
This goes back to the very beginning, how if you just tell somebody, hey, you need to do this for your health, they're not going to do it. Yet all of a sudden you come up with software, you come up with a device, you come up with a tool, you come up with something that makes it easier or gamify it or make it cool or anything for that matter. And lo and behold, everyone's walking around with a wrist tracker on telling them how many steps they do a day, right? It's the same concept. It's remarkable what you guys are doing, Ari.
And I've been 15 years making video games, so that's my youth.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
So, I'm trying to bundle, what I know about the world. And you said it, the gamification is the key piece here. And even more important than gamification is the fact that if you can measure something, you can improve it. And if you don't know, how could you measure? We need to have a trajectory. We need to have a graph going up to the right, and we feel more confident about it. And so many people now, the cholesterol going down or vitamin D going up. People say like, wow, it works. My doctor asked me to show my Elo data and my Elo app because it's better depiction than the EMR they have on my data. And I have more data on my app than they have in their health system.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then of the supplements, just to recap, so not just vitamins, but like what if there's like a magnesium supplement or there's something that's not exactly like all of those covered?
We have 100 different active ingredients
100,
today.
there it is.
In the gummies, we have 50. And on the pills, we have even more. Some things, when you make them into gummy, can be more difficult because, gummy is something you taste. Pill is something you swallow. So we have to spend a lot of time to make the gummy taste great. And I have to admit, they are so yummy. We get people calling us all the time, many, who are saying like, I ate 4, am I going to be okay? I'm like, dude, like we tell you to eat the 1 a day. Don't eat all of them.
Don't eat them.
But they are very, very yummy.
Hysterical.
Love it.
Is there anything else we didn't cover that you wanted to say while we were here together?
One thing that, I always love to talk about because, I've been now on this health track of thinking nutrition for, over 20 years now. Many people think that everything has to be so perfect. And, I'm building a very precise tool for people to use, a system. But in the end, when it comes to food, don't be too hard on yourself. Many people, they don't give slack at all to themselves. They have no empathy for themselves. People are thinking about, losing weight and diet and health. And often we make it too difficult. We just set the bar so high, we're never going to reach the bar. We don't even touch the bar, it's too high. So we need to be more empathetic to ourselves. And remember that, nutrition food is not that complicated. Yes, I know a lot of people are overweight. They've been overweight for a long time. They're trying to lose weight. It's really hard. It is hard. And it is really more of a illness than your willpower. But the point here is that some things are important, like breakfast to me. You can skip a breakfast or then you can do something with high protein. We often take high carb breakfast, and studies over and over so globally, every place, that you eat 15% more calories if you start with the carb heavy breakfast. Think about
Sugar.
it. 15% adds up in 50 years to 40 pounds of overweight. And then if you have a salad for lunch, it's good. But then don't worry about the dinner. People often be like, I need to be perfect. I'm going to eat this cabbage soup, every day. No, dinner should be your time with the family time, and don't worry about it. But that's been a mantra that, we talk at Elo a lot. I really don't like this idea that we are putting us in a bucket of a diet. Like you are the vegan, you are the carnivore, you are whatever, pescatarian. That's all bullshit because all the diets are just these limitations that our reptile mind can understand. You can get healthy with any type of diet. It's not about that. We are tribal in many ways, and we have become tribal even on a diet level. And that's just silly to me. Like it can be a limitation to say I'm a vegan because of certain things, but many vegans are very unhealthy because they eat the crap that, is supposed to be vegan. Twinkies are vegan.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you read the studies before? I'm going to go with you probably read them all on eating for your blood type.
I think it's bullshit, but no, a lot of the stuff out there, there
Yeah.
might be some truth to the matter that, we don't understand yet. But if I look at the raw science on that topic, for example,
Yeah.
I don't buy it. But there's another point that, maybe there's something is your blood type might be inherited somehow. So there's a
Right.
very, very powerful learning now. I mean, you probably heard about the blue zones, the place where people live almost to
Yep.
100.
Yes.
Why they
Yep.
live to
Yep.
100?
Yep.
There's a really good studies. There's a great documentary
Yep.
came out recently about it. But the point is that there's a thing called ancestral diet.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think is a truth and a fact. Like I come
Right.
from Finland where, for 10,000 years, people ate berries and salmon and there's no
Yeah.
bread. Nothing grows because it's so north. Nothing grows like a banana. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if I eat a banana, I eat a tamale, I have white rice, I spike my glucose like wildly. And that applies to almost everybody who are like me from there. And if I eat more the ancestral diet, not your parents' diet, but, the grandparents' diet, you're actually going to be much better off. I can eat the
Yeah.
ice cream and I'm spike at all. We have people from every part of the world in the company and we test this out. And some people have rice and they're like, there's nothing, no spike.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like
Yeah.
an hour spike. I feel it, in my body.
I did learn about my blood type when I had kidney stones when I was like 22 from some medicine my dermatologist put me on. And I wasn't staying hydrated enough. But I asked about that because when I learned from a doctor of nutrition about eating for your blood type, it was just like 3 or 4 things. Like, hey, Nicole, you should avoid red meat. Or if you have it, you should have an enzyme or dairy. And man, I've learned I feel better. I can feel the difference in so many different ways when I just pay attention. So I was thinking, I feel like your work and plus that eating for your blood type is just going to take what I knew, what I thought I knew a little bit about the alkaline in my blood and what it does or doesn't like. I always said it was like a manual, like it's my own little manual for me. And like, that's going to take it to a whole nother level. So thank you for your work. If someone hasn't acknowledged you for all the years and years you've dedicated and the reasons why, like the story you shared with us, I just want to acknowledge you and just say, thank you for all of us. My goodness, what incredible work.
And from a fiscal standpoint, Ari, just so you know, that other company I mentioned was hundreds of dollars a month, hundreds. So when you talk about cost benefit analysis, thank you, because you're doing something for the world and you're making it affordable too. So thank you for what you're doing.
That means a lot. We are still in a premium segment and we are still mainly selling to people who are, they're worried well, who are already pretty healthy. But to take these things into the mainstream, because we are suffering as a nation, we need to get people healthier. And my wife is a big environmentalist. She was involved in the Paris Agreement back in the days and she ran the Green Party of Finland for a long time. So we are in that world. We believe both that people will not be able to think about the long-term things like global warming, climate change, or whatever happens if they are feeling sick every day in their own life. You can't think 50 years ahead if you are feeling bad every day. So we have to fix ourselves and give us more confidence and make us feel better as a nation.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to point out blue zones, by the way, Okinawa, Japan lost their rating as a blue zone. So all the more proof what happened there is that what they're saying is the American diet showed up. The American diet ruined so many things. So proof even more. It really matters what we put in our bodies.
Yeah.
Okay. What is one of the key lessons you've learned as an entrepreneur? Maybe something like a mantra you find yourself saying again and again.
Just move forward. I mean, Nike put it well, just do it. If you keep taking steps forward, you get somewhere. If you procrastinate, nothing will happen. You have to go forward.
Yeah.
And if you're uncertainty, don't worry about, if you don't know. If you batting average over 50% on making right decisions, you're going to be fine.
How would you define your entrepreneurial success?
To me, it's all about impact. I'm so proud about the fact that, coming here as an immigrant and working in the healthcare mess or the system we call healthcare, sick care for decades that is impacting maybe 200 million people a year. I mean, it's pretty cool. And my mom is proud about it. So I always think about the mom factor the most. I mean, if mom is proud about you, nothing else really matters.
Yeah. I'm sending this episode to my mom because she also an immigrant here, came from Scotland as a kiddo and is, in a word, obsessed with what is sick care, like you said, and how food and medicine, how there's just a big debate. So she's going to be excited to hear this. Tell me, what's a link you want people to know about? I certainly will link it in the show notes, but if you'll just give us the best place for folks to find you, that assessment, and the next steps.
Yeah, if the smart nutrition idea resonates at all, or if you want to try something new, you can go to Elo Health and you can find our products there. And if you want to follow me, you can go to LinkedIn and find Ari Tulla. I'm quite active there. I try to avoid other networks because they are just becoming so hostile and negative.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Nicole, and that's the end of the interview.
But stick around. This is the part where Matt and I break it all down and give you our favorite takeaways. Listen in.
My first thing is every bit of your story is your story if you use it. Like, it's amazing. Every single thing that he did along the way, he has brought with him and pulled forward, and it shows up all the time. We talked about it right at the end about gamification.
Yeah.
Like, in every single way, he proves when you look back on your journey, like along the way, you thought they were stepping stones, but when you look back, they're all connected. Like, he proves
For
that
sure.
Steve Jobs message in every single little way. And I don't think everybody pulls that through for whatever they're doing today. But it's
Right.
true for every single person that every bit of your experiences you're bringing along with you. The same way that son that they lost, it's driven him, to find the right answers. The same way that his wife is interested in environment and he likes to rock climb. Like, every single bit of it, he just pulls it all the way through. And not everybody, I think, does that, even though that's what's happening.
Right. Ditto. The next thing that came to my mind definitely was the idea that as long as my mom is proud of, because of course he said impact right off the bat, but then he went so basic and said, as long as my mom is proud of. Think about that for a second. As an entrepreneur, no matter what your business is, no matter how successful you are, no matter if you just started today, no matter if you've been successful and you're a multi-million-dollar company, if your mom is proud of you, like that means so much. That tells you you're on the right path.
Yeah. So I think that it's both sets the bar high, right? Oh, mom's got to be proud. But it also sets all of your priorities in just the right spot, because mom is going to be proud of you if you didn't do all of this, right? Like, she's going to be proud of you. And there's so many times that I beat myself up in a given day that I didn't get this done, or I'm feeling behind in this or this or this, whatever, whatever to-do list I'm looking at or priority I'm looking at. And really, if I were to look at it through the lens of my mom, number one, she'd be like, oh, you did enough.
Yeah.
Right. But then also like, but did I make her proud though with doing what I did? Did I have integrity? Did I meet the goal I said I was going to meet? So it's like equal, like this just right amount of pressure, but also like just brings you back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
I love that one. Yeah.
Yep. What else you got?
The other big takeaway is, my gosh, personalized nutrition is here in a whole different way. He said, whether it was with Nokia starting the 10,000 steps, like that sensor made that happen. And we still talk about the 10,000 steps per day to this day, right? Oh, you get your steps in. Anybody can say that to anybody. How those small things make big changes. And here, finally, he said, we got all the things. We've got all the smart things. Why isn't what we put in our body just as smart? We have all this data. I love data. And so it's just recognizing the health and wellness industry is multi-billions of billions, right? And this is the first time that I've seen. Now, you did mention that other test that you did, but like, this is the first time I've seen something that just makes sense. It's not going to break the bank. Now, it's not affordable for everybody yet. I get that. But how incredible if this goes mainstream, that more people are able to do this. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to report back.
Yeah. I will say, to piggyback that comment, going back to Nokia, going back to all of that, is the idea that if you just tell people, hey, you should eat healthy. Hey, you should try to watch the food you're eating. You should take a nutritional supplement, without this ability to track it, to measure it, to gamify it, to have the tool to make it easier. People just don't do it. It's that simple. We know this already.
Right. Multi-billions of dollars to say calories in, calories out. Like, there's fitness in a nutshell, basically, right? You pay us multi-billions a year, and it's really just calories in and calories burned, but we can't get it. So we buy all the things. Well, folks, if you're listening, you know what we always say, keep listening. I lost Matt. I don't know what just happened.
You've been listening to the Serial Entrepreneur Show, produced by the team here at SmartCookie Media.